Hello guys, in this video we are going to learn about Docker and then we will be deploying a simple Nginx application with Ubuntu as our base operating system inside a Docker. So let's get started. So whenever we want to deploy a simple website having a single page, then what we usually do that we just install Nginx using sudo apt-get install Nginx, and here you can see that I already have installed Nginx. So now what I will do is I will simply create a web page which I have already created, and if you see at the content of this one, it says welcome to Docker testing with Nginx. So now my Nginx server is running and I have created a single web page which I have hosted on this server or this Nginx server. Now to access this, what I will do is I will run localhost at port 80, as we know that by default Nginx runs on port 80. So here you can see welcome to Docker testing with Nginx. So this is how we deploy any website on Nginx server, and to deploy the same thing inside the Docker, we will have to first create an image and then deploy it inside our Docker. So right now, first thing which I will do is, so I will try to install Docker. So I can do it using this command. So right now you can see I have already installed my Docker, and if I run docker-version, it will list the version. It will list me this. So I think it should be -b. So if I do this, then Docker is already installed on my system. For for installing Docker, you can follow any website. So right now here is one of the link which you can follow to install Docker on your system. Once you have Docker installed on your system, you can verify it using docker-b. Now what I will do is I will just run some commands related to Docker, like Docker images. You can see these are several images which are present on my system, and if you see whether any Docker is running on my system, you can run docker ps-a, and here it is showing me that there is no Docker container running on my system. Now you can build a simple Docker image, and to do so we first need to write a Docker file. So let's write a Docker file and then build an image out of it. So if I want to create a Docker image, I will have to write a Docker file, and by convention usually Docker file is written with this name, but you can change the name of it as well. So right now I am using the usual convention, that is vi Docker file, and I will be writing some statements inside this. So what I want here is that I want my OS version to be Ubuntu, and then OS version, whichever version I will pass from the command line, or here I am saying that if there is no value passed from the command line, then default value should be the latest OS version of Ubuntu. Then I am saying that hey, the maintainer of this particular Docker image is Sandeep Singh Rawat. Then you can see that here I have used one argument, and note there is one point to be noted, that these arg variable defined before this from are not accessible after it. So if I define this arg variable here, if I define the arg variable defined on line number 7, if I move this argument variable to line number 3rd, then this will not be accessible to me at this particular line. And the reason behind this is that all the arg variables defined before the from statement are not accessible after the from statement. So this is the what you can say norm which is followed, or a rule which is followed in Docker file. So if you want to define an argument, or if you want to use any argument after the from statement, you will have to define it again, as I have done here for Nginx version, and then you can use it in the several or the further instructions. So basically a Docker file consists of several instructions. So if I talk about instruction, arg is an instruction, from is an instruction, maintainer is an instruction, and then followed by some argument. So here this OS version is the argument which is passed to the arg instruction. Second thing, that are the instructions are usually written in capital letters, but it is not mandatory. You can write it in small letters, but by convention again it is written in capital letters, so it is easy to understand that this represents an instruction. And then comes the what you can say arguments to it. Now here this is a very, I think, basic Docker file, so it is self understood. I think arg is, we are saying that OS version should be latest if it is not passed through command line. Then we are saying that from means it is taking Ubuntu as the base image, and then it will pick the latest version if we will not pass this OS version value from our command line when we will build our Docker image. Then we are saying that hey, this is the maintainer. Then we want to run this command once our Docker container is running. We want to run this command inside the Docker, and this is simply apt-get update install Nginx, and we want a specific version, that is 1.18, to be installed on our system. And then we want to install curl command inside this container. Then we are running a command, that is mkdir-p. Again this command is run inside our container, so it will create this particular folder for us. And then we are copying the index.html to www.html inside my container. So this particular index.html is present in my current folder from where I will run Docker build, and this location is the location where I want to copy it inside the Docker. And finally I will run a cmd command, that is nginx-g, using the cmd instruction. And finally I am exposing my port 80 to the of container for this particular Nginx application. So this is all about the Docker file. Now what I will do is I will just run docker build -t, and I will add a tag Nginx with curl to this. I will say it's version latest as of now. I will say latest, or I can write it as 1.0, but I will use latest. And then I will say where is my Docker file, so I will say current folder as my Docker file. So when I press enter, here you can see it has started building my Docker image. And as I show you about the output of Docker images, here you can see there is there was no image as such, but right now there is an image, that is Nginx with curl, and it is the latest which has been created, and it was created 2 hours ago because I tried to create it before this spectacle. So it is showing that this image was already created 2 hours ago. So now what I will do is, once I have created this image, now what I will do is I will try to create a container from this particular image. But before doing this, what we will do is I will just now to maintain this code, this Docker file and index.html, what I will do is I will just initialize it as a Git repository. But since I have already done it, I I have pushed my code to my GitHub repo. So this is how we maintain our code for any files related to our image. So basically I have a custom Nginx image and I have maintained this particular repository in the GitHub for maintaining this particular image of Nginx. Now this is how we will maintain our custom software, or we can say custom Nginx. And to store the Docker images, we will have to put them in Docker Hub. So here if I show you Docker images, so to put this image or to store this image somewhere, we have Docker Hub as a repo, or you can say Docker Hub is a repo where you can store this image. So now what I will do is I will just try to push this image to Docker Hub, but before pushing it there I will have to see, if you see here, it requires me to tag my particular image. If I do it like this, then latest, let's see what it says. Request access is denied. So to do this, what I will have to do is I will have to tag this particular Docker image in this way so that it is able to push it. And then I will run again docker push, and then so now if I try to push this image, you can see that it has now started pushing this image to my Docker. And here you can see right now I have one Docker image available in my repository, and as soon as I refresh my window, you can see, or you will see, that a new image with Nginx with curl has been pushed. Now this image I can remove, or I will remove this particular image from here, and okay, let us see, we have not passed the tag of it. Docker RMI this with latest Docker images. Oh, Docker RMI. We have changed the tag here. So if I do this, you can see right now I have removed all the image from my system, and now the image is only available at my remote repository. So this is how you maintain your images in your Docker Hub repository, and instead of keeping it on your local system. So this is how we maintain our Docker images in Docker Hub. Now if I want to use that image, or if anybody wants to use that image, he can just do docker search Nginx with curl, but right now it will not show me any result because it takes around 24 hours to reflect those images in my Docker Hub. So you can just, or any person can simply just run this command and search for my particular image using this docker search command. So this is how anyone can search for my image. Now once I have searched this image, I want to pull it. So what I will do is I will say nginx with so I want to pull this image to my local now. So let's see how it works. And now if I run docker images again on my system, you can see the image is now again available on my local. So this is how we maintain docker images. So right now what we have done is we have written a docker file, then we have created a docker image out of it. So here we have seen docker ps, then we have seen docker search, and now we will be discussing about we have also seen the docker pull and push command. Now what we will do is we will just discuss about the life cycle of a docker. So a docker life cycle starts with create, and then we bring the container in running state. We are talking about docker container. We can pause the container or we can stop it. There is a difference between the pause. In case of pause, we will pass a sig stop signal to the container, but in case of stopped, whenever we stop a container, we pass it set term, and then finally once the grace period is over, sig kill will be called on all the processes of running inside the container. Then we can pause. After pause we can unpause the container if we want to, and we can we can start the container once it is stopped, and finally we can terminate the container by running docker rm. So let's see these things in action. So right now I have an image, and what I want to do is I want to create a container with the name is equals to test, and the image which I want to use it this particular. So it is saying that I can use the short version. Sorry. So you can see the container has been created, and it is saying that this particular container has been created with this particular image, and the container ID is this. So right now my container is in the first stage. Now what I will do is I will just try to start this container, and we know to start a container we have docker start and then the container ID. Now if I see here docker ps, then you will see that this particular container has exposed a port 80 which we have seen in docker file. Again it is using the image this one. This container ID is same which we saw before we started the container. So it means earlier it was created, now it is in running state, and it is up for 6 seconds. Now what I want to do is again I will run this up for. Now I will pause this container. So you can just simply run docker pause, and it will stop all the processes of this container, and it is saying it is in paused state. Now I will simply unpause it, and again I will run. When I will run docker ps again, it will show that it is again up for 54 seconds. Now I want to stop this particular container, so let me stop it, and then to docker ps, then it will say that it has exited or it has stopped. Now again I want to start, but still it is there, the container is there. Now I want to again start it, so I will simply write for start, and if I run this again, then it is saying it is again up for 4 seconds. Now I want to remove this particular container, so I will just simply do docker rm docker, sorry, we need to stop the container first, and then we can do docker rm and docker yes will now show no output as we have terminated the particular container. So this is how the life cycle of the container is. So we have seen the several commands related to Docker, and we have also seen how we can containerize an Nginx application which was running in my locally earlier. Now we have containerized it and we have ran it inside a Docker. Now the third or the final part is that we will just run, or let me run images, and I will run and I will try to access this application, and to access it I am saying that I want to run a Docker and I want to run it in detached or daemon mode, and then I want to say that expose the port 127.0.0.1 with port 80, and then port 80 of the host, localhost port 80 has been matched with the container port 80, and then I want to say that run this particular image. So let's say what it is saying, that port 80 is already in use. So if I see here, why it is saying like this? Because you can see that my system, or in my local system, this Nginx is already running, and this port 80 which we are trying to bind with our container is already in use. So that is why it is not able to run it. And if I stop it, then now if you will run this here, now you will see that my local Nginx which was running on my local system or workstation is now stopped. Now what I will do is I will just run my newer version of Nginx or newer Nginx, and to do so I will run this command again. Now you can see docker ps-a. Now my new container, that is this one, is running, and it is up for 5 seconds, and it is saying that it is mapped to this port 80 of the host with this particular port of the container. So this is used for mapping the host port to the container port. Now if I will go back to my browser and I do 80 here you can see that hello Sandeep, we have just configured our Nginx web server on Ubuntu server. So etc OS release. Now you can verify it, or you can just log into this particular container docker, and then you can do docker run it interactive mode, this particular thing, and then you can say bash I think it is something like this, docker ps-a docker stop, or I can do docker run -it interactive mode, and then I will say dash. Oh sorry, I want to exec inside it. So here you can see that my nginx is running. Nginx status. So right now I am inside my container with the user root, and here my nginx is running. And if I do where www.html index.html, here you can see that hello cd1 we have just configured. So this is how we can containerize nginx application, and we can have a version of our operating system different than our local operating system. So here you can see that the operating system which is installed inside this particular Docker is the latest version of Ubuntu, that is 22, whereas in my local workstation it is 20.04. So this is how we can containerize our application and use it to run inside a Docker container. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you can comment, and feel free to ask me questions. Do like and subscribe the channel. Thank you.